Welcome to today's webcast, brought to you by Datavail and Continuent. I'm Stephen Fagg, Director at Database Trends and Applications in Unisphere Research. I will be your host for today's broadcast. Our presentation today is titled, Is Free Good Enough for Your MySQL Environment? Before we begin, I want to explain how you can be a part of this broadcast. There will be a question and answer session. If you have a question during the presentation, just type it into the question box provided and click on the Submit button. We'll try to get to as many questions as possible, but if your question has not been selected during the show, you will receive an email response. Plus, all viewers will be entered to win a $100 American Express gift card just for participating today. Now, to introduce our speakers for today, Srinivasa Krishna, MySQL Practice Leader at Datavail, and Eero Terrakorpi, Founder and CEO of Continuent. For more information on our speakers today, you can click on the arrows under their headshots. Now I'm going to pass the event over to Eero.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are. I'm based in California. I am a founder and CEO of Continuent. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have been involved with 7 different startups over the years. And also I'm a ex-Navy officer and avid sailor. My favorite place on earth is the San Francisco Bay. I've been on MySQL marketplace effectively since the beginning, early 2000. That was interesting times. Continuent established its operation in the US 2004, and we always were focusing about MySQL availability. We saw early on the promise of open source databases, LAMP stack, creating an opportunity to build e-commerce applications and web having natural 24/7, 365 environment. So we decided to focus on providing a continuous operation for business critical MySQL applications. And we since built solutions that have a wide geographic distribution, and come back on those when showcase few of our use cases. Our typical customers are software as a service providers. Some 70% of our customers fall in this category. We have a number of e-commerce, financial services, gaming, telecommunication companies as our customers. And collectively, these companies have billions of dollars of revenue streams that we are safeguarding for them. You may recognize a few of our customers. This is a sample list of our customer. Adobe is a good example. They actually run 2 different software as a service solutions on top of our platform. One is Adobe Sign, e-signature service solution. Other one is Marketo. Marketo got acquired by Adobe almost for $6 billion a year ago. Marketo has been our customer almost 10 years now, and I'm sure you recognize a few others on this kind of a prestige customer list. And now on to Krishna.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. Srinivasa Krishna, I'm the practice lead for MySQL at Datavail. I'm also a senior MySQL DBA with more than 15 years of DBA experience. Specialized in database architecture, optimization, and high availability solutions and security. I've been with Datavail for the past 12 years. It's going great, and we've been providing solutions to enterprise level customers, both on-prem or also in the cloud. A quick introduction about Datavail. We are the largest provider of managed database services, offering solutions to both relational and non-relational database platforms across various technologies. We've been delivering database services, solutions, and supporting over 500 plus customers across the globe for the past 15 years. And an average customer lifespan of around 7 years, which is great. Let's talk a little bit about Datavail services. So oftentimes, customers approach us when they have some issues with us at specific tasks, or their databases are running slow, or they're having some latency issues, or unable to keep up with the growth rate, and or they just had a major outage issue that resulted in business loss or anything like that. So oftentimes they need help addressing some of these items in a short-term deliverable basis and an immediate basis. And they might need help with architecting their servers and providing HA solutions or capacity planning and all. So typical project engagements would involve like a quick health check assessment, making sure the systems are healthy and operational, and also they want to upgrade from older versions to the latest versions, or they want to migrate from one database technology to the other database technology, or it could be from on-prem migration to the cloud. It could be a mere lift and shift, or they want to expand to the cloud solutions. We typically serve all these services. Project engagement can be both short-term and long-term, again, depending on the scope and nature of objectives. And it could vary from customer to customer, and pretty good. Operational management services, typically these are for the ongoing support models. Most of our customers would love that because it gives them assurance that there's somebody who is actually actively monitoring 24/7 round the clock, actively monitoring your systems, making sure the systems are operational and online and it's functional. It gives them, again, we work with the customers to make sure their SLAs are met, and again, the SLAs are not general, and we work with the customers to make sure their requirements are met, and it can vary from customer to customer, the response times and all that. So oftentimes the proactive services are part of the managed services, so most of the customers would love that approach. You can perform all these proactive health checks, upgrades, migration activities, and all this stuff can be collaborated and merged into an operational service model. Again, no solution works best for all the problems. So each environment is different, and each customer requirements are different. So we work with the customers to make sure we understand what their requirements are, what they're trying to deliver, and what are the target issues are we trying to tackle. And again, we scope it differently. We work with them to understand their needs, and we provide solutions to them. We also have Datavail development services. Again, if you have any ad hoc development requests, or if you need some automation efforts to be in place, if you're trying to build a data warehouse or data lake solution and you want to optimize that, we have teams and experts from each technology and category, so we can pull the resources and help you with all your database needs. Okay, back to Stephen for a quick poll.
Thank you very much, Krishna. At this point in time, we're going to do our first poll question today. The question is, what version of MySQL are you currently working with? The answer options are Oracle MySQL, OSS and/or Enterprise, MariaDB, Percona Server, Amazon RDS MySQL and/or Amazon Aurora, or none. I'm here to inform myself. And while we wait for you to select your answer, just a friendly reminder, if you have a question at any time, just type it into the question box and hit the submit button. We're going to try to get to as many questions as possible later. If your question is not addressed live, it will be followed up with via email. So it looks like the results are starting to come in. Okay, 16.7% are using Oracle MySQL, 16.7% MariaDB, and 66.7% are here to inform themselves. Okay, so before we move on to our next poll, just a quick tidbit on where MySQL currently stands in the marketplace. Ranking open source databases by market share won't give you an accurate measurement, since market share is usually determined by revenue. Gartner doesn't include MySQL in their analysis of market share for this reason. However, when you look at other criteria, it's clear that MySQL continues to be a leader in the database market. Datanyze ranks MySQL #1 based on domains. Stack Overflow ranks MySQL the most popular database amongst developers, even higher than Microsoft SQL Server. And DB Engines ranks MySQL second in database platforms based on interest. We also see a lot of regular interest in MySQL at DBTA as well. It's in use by over 1/3 of our subscribers. So we're going to move on to our next poll. in what environment do you run your MySQL applications? And the answer options are on-premises, AWS Cloud, Azure Cloud, Google Cloud, other, or once again, none. I'm here to inform myself. And while we wait, just another reminder, if you would like a PDF of the deck, you can download it once the event is archived. You will receive an email with the link to the archive tomorrow. Okay, we'll give you a few more seconds. And it looks like the results are starting to come in. Okay, so 44.4% on premises, 22.2% AWS Cloud, 44.4% none. I'm here to inform myself. So I'm going to pass it back to you, Eero.
All right, everybody. Agenda for today, we are going to discuss about the hidden cost of the free do-it-yourself solution, how free open source really is, and what additional cost elements that you should factor in. After I cover that, Krishna will discuss about how managed the managed database as a service solutions really are. And then this will be followed by a few use cases that we can highlight how some of our customers are actively deploying these business-critical MySQL solutions, both locally and globally. And we will touch a little bit of benefits of the continuous solutions. And then we can discuss about what the Datavail brings on top of our software solutions. Continuent is not in business of DBA services, remote DBA services of any kind. Obviously, we provide high-level support for our solutions, but we expect our customers to have either their own DBAs managing the database backend or bring in someone like Datavail to help them. When you think about do-it-yourself, free is always tempting. When open source came out, there was a promise of being able to build pretty complex solutions at practically no cost. But the cost is in details. There's when you are starting building using open source components, you have to create your own architecture for whatever solution, in this case, MySQL high availability, decide what technologies to use, and then you actually have to build it. And not only to build, but also you have to maintain that long term. And if the original developer of that solution leaves the company, there's practically nobody left who knows what it actually is doing and how to operate on it. It's ultimately results a lot of manual labor for the DBAs and developers. Our approach is a more complete solution. Obviously, we like to take the benefit of the open source and open source cost structure by the fact that the database itself is free. It's already a great start. And the overlaying cost that we provide on top of that is actually quite reasonable. But this is what we offer in exchange is a complete, seamlessly orchestrated solution that has well over 100 years of development maturity. It's been used by a number of companies over 10 years. We have thousands of clusters out there. Effectively, it is a complete, proven, supported solutions that you truly count on. When we start looking a little bit more detailed level, building a highly available database, highly available MySQL solution, that itself, as complex it is, from our point of view, is relatively trivial. And I can see many of our prospective customers to be able to take on that task. We claim that we have a better solution as a starting point, but when you start thinking about not only availability, but also disaster recovery, and also being able to cater your potentially geographically distributed clients of your own, that changes the game quite significantly. We claim, and we have been able to demonstrate that to build these geographically scaling solution straight out of the box. Other little thing that to pay attention is that when you build a solution, you need to be able to find the data from your backend solution. And typically it's been used some sort of proxy, whether it's the Proxy HA or Proxy SQL. There's a number of proxies out there. but it's something that you actually have to spend a whole lot of time and make it work with your applications. What we offer is a solution that presents the whole cluster, whether it's local or global, as a single database. There's no changes on your application. You can just tap in. We will find the data. We will find the master for the and we will find the slaves to be able to read from. When you are taking this step further, things happen. Systems come down. Recovering failure becomes an issue. When you are working with your own do-it-yourself solution, that often results time-consuming manual process. We provide, on the other hand, something that works automatically, is sub-second for the local availability operation, replacing the master, and we provide fully automated on global DR operation. That's a decision that seldom is best left for the automatic operation. We want somebody to take a look at what's going on if you want to make a data center level changes on your system. Even more so when you are thinking about the software as a service or any other similar application online, it requires continuous operation. You can't expect to be able to bring down your application for maintenance. You have to be able to do it while systems are up and running and catering the customers. A lot of do-it-yourself solutions forces and requires downtime. And that then ends up being taking place sometime the hours of the Sunday morning, but then again, Sunday morning in California or East Coast USA is day or night somewhere else, and their customers are expected to be able to use the application. And the last but not least is how well is these systems being actually supported. We pride ourselves for extremely fast, extremely high level of support. We have been averaging a response time for all urgent requests across all of our customers during the past 18 months, less than 3 minutes. We understand your business is on the line. We need to be able to react and help you as needed. Back to you, Krishna.
Thank you, Eero. All right, let's talk about how managed are the database services. So with the recent evolution of cloud and with the expansion of database as a service offerings, and most providers and claim that their services are self-controlled or self-managed, although to some extent they are self-managed with respect to the infrastructure management, where it helps them with the operational flexibility and of course with the cost management, but it doesn't necessarily eliminate the need for a DBA or a database architect. So let's focus on some of the key areas that would still fall on the typical DBA roles and responsibilities. And if you consider about the version upgrades, most cloud providers or database service offering providers does have a capability to perform the automatic minor version upgrades. But again, depending on how you configure it, how you set it up, with your schedules and all, minor version backups are done automatically. But if you're talking about doing a major version upgrades within a MySQL, if you talk about 5.6 to 5.7 or 5.7 to 8.0, unfortunately those are not automatic. And for obvious reasons, because each major release contains tons of new features and functionality, and you have to make sure your application and database needs are met and the dependencies are addressed before you actually plan on doing cutovers and upgrading. And optimal configuration, yes, when you install or configure a provision instance out of the box, it comes with optimal configuration. And over the time, as your application evolves and your database tend to grow, you may notice some latency issues, and you might feel that, okay, it's not optimal anymore, and you need to make sure that whatever configuration settings that you set up a couple of years back when you initially provision it are not being active or accurate to the current needs. So you have to make sure this is an ongoing process, and you have to make sure the resources are in place to make sure your services are online and it's performing well and it's optimally configured. So database consolidation, again, as your data tend to grow from few gigabytes to terabytes, you need to plan and work. Again, the better you plan early on it would be the best convenient approach. so we can understand the business needs and logic and what are the requirements for the application. So if we talk about archivals, again, you need to have an archival strategy based on your business logic and requirements. You can either plan for database sharding or database partitioning to make sure you can meet the scaling demands of your database. New features and functionality, again, most of the times, new features and functionality enhancements are being part of the major release version upgrades. You have to make sure those new features are being leveraged as part of your database upgrades, and make sure your application is making use of those new enhanced functions to get better with the regular operations. Deployment schema changes, again, this is one of the ongoing things where as your application evolves, you obviously typically need to perform day-to-day deployments to the database. You might do the schema changes and all, and as the data grows, those schema changes can be a pain, and you have to make sure those are performed online without locking or blocking your sessions, and make sure you're serving your customers without any interruption. Again, we talk about multiple MySQL versions. Again, with the cloud, mostly with people are going to the InnoDB, but if you go for customized solutions like MariaDB and MySQL offers other storage engines specific to your application requirements. And if you need help with conversion from one database storage engine to another database storage engine, you need to make sure you have resources available for that. Conflict resolution, again, this piece, everything works great when things are up and running, and all of a sudden, when you see that, okay, things are running slow, or you have conflicts and you're seeing issues with your database, how well prepared are you to address those things makes it life better for everybody. So make sure those conflicts, not just the conflict detection, but you have a process in place to have the conflict resolution in place, and you have people who can address and fix those issues for you. Security considerations, again, it varies from company to company, but if you're talking about the overall database level security considerations and infrastructure considerations, you have to make sure all your security guidelines and policies are met, and you have functionality and features in place within the infrastructure layer and also in the database layer to have them implemented. So these are some of the categories that we could highlight here. Again, there are so many other sections. We plan to have a blog post out of that pretty soon. If you need any help, obviously, you can reach out to Datavail for further clarification. Back to you, Stephen.
Thank you very much, Krishna. And now for our next poll. How do you currently manage your MySQL environment? The answer options are internal DBAs. We manage it ourselves with the help of OSS tools. Internal DBAs and remote DBA service. We use a combination of DIY solutions and outside consulting. Remote DBA service. We have completely outsourced database management. DBAs and commercial solutions. We use database as a service and commercial solutions to help us manage, or other. And while we wait for you to select your answer, we're going to tackle an audience question. And the question is, what's your position on MySQL versus MariaDB or another MySQL variant?
I can take that, Stephen. So that's actually a good question. So oftentimes, most customers would ask the same question, like, hey, we have all these flavors of MySQL. We have Oracle MySQL, we have Percona flavor, and we have MariaDB. And, which one would you suggest, or which would rather you choose? Again, the short answer is it depends on your actual requirements. What are we trying to accomplish? Are we looking for any specific features or functionality within the major versions? But to summarize it, they all work great. They are pretty much stable and robust. All of them have major functionality enhancements and security features incorporated. And they are also available within both open source, community, and enterprise solutions. So again, if you're trying to implement some additional functionality or features, it depends on your workload. But unfortunately, there is no single answer to that. We have to work through the customers and understand their needs and requirements before we suggest, hey, if you're looking for this specific functionality, you might want to go with this because it performs better. But all these technologies and providers work together, whether it could be a patch, a bug fix, they try their best to have them incorporated and merge them into their next future major version releases. I hope that answers your question.
Understood. Thank you, Krishna. And it looks like the results are coming in. So 57.1% are using internal DBAs with the help of OSS tools. 14.3% are using an internal DBA and remote DBA service. And then 28.6% selected other. Back to you, Eero.
Thank you. Let me get the next slide. Thank you. I have three different use cases to demonstrate that how some of our customers achieve the calls for their continuous availability. First use case is online radio type of application. This customer has been with us since 2013, growing their listener base from a few hundreds of thousands, initially to millions, and then to tens of millions. And all this while using a Tungsten clustering solution. It is about availability and scalability, but also performance. So in this case, how we approached, we provided them a simple 3-node cluster for availability, and then we have augmented the deployment with additional read slaves. And this effectively gives you practically infinite scaling for this type of online streaming application. Really cost effective, easy to manage, reliable for 24/7, 365 operation. This particular customer actually is a joint customer with the Continuent and Datavail. Datavail providing remote DBA services for them. The next one is a little bit more advanced. It is a award-winning software as a service provider, focusing into medical data. They have a electronic media assistant solution for smaller doctor shops and similar, catering the US market primarily. And they have built a pod architecture allowing them to scale as their own user base grows. This particular customer has been with us since 2014. Initially, they had just 2 clusters, and the typical cluster setup they had at the local cluster, catering the availability needs, and then they also do have a disaster recovery cluster, both of these running in AWS, 2 different regions, and while in a region, they are multi-zone, so that they're providing the highest possible availability. Today, these guys have already increased their customer base significantly, run some 17 Tungsten clusters, planning to add 3 more in relatively short notice. One thing to pay attention, not only is it works, but it's also secure. We have a built-in data protection capabilities. All the replication traffic is encrypted and providing a solution for the HIPAA compliant requirements for this particular customer. The third one is maybe the most advanced deployment of this. This particular company is one of the largest gaming companies, and one of their games has some 350 million players worldwide. And their challenge was to be able to provide the fast response times locally while maintaining the data consistency across this whole database backend. And the solution in their case, how we approach, we provided a master cluster, which is based in Los Angeles, where the company is headquartered, actually in Santa Monica. And then they have additional clusters, 3 of them today, catering to local customers in East Coast USA, in Europe, and in Asia Pacific. But when a user access this system, it goes through our Tungsten connector, connectivity layer, and regardless of that where the main database may be and where data is, they can connect with any of these ones. A good example was that the recent strong weather event taking place in the China Sea that compromised some of the connectivity under seabed internet cables. In other cases, these guys would have been kicked off from using the application, but because of the deployment, it allowed all the gamers to keep using the system without any hiccup. This particular customer has added 2 more similar deployments, catering other customer needs they have. Back to you, Stephen.
Thank you very much, Eero. And now for our last polling question today, which is, are you currently looking for a continuous availability solution for MySQL operations? And the answer options are no, we already have a MySQL high availability disaster recovery solution we are happy with. Yes, we already have a MySQL HADR solution, but we are not happy with it. Yes, we're actively investigating or working on a project. Not right now, but it's in our future plans. No, I'm here to inform myself or other. And while we wait for you to select your answers, just another reminder, if you have a question during the presentation, type it into the question box provided and click on the submit button. We're going to try to get to as many questions as possible later. So I'll just give you a few more seconds. Okay, and it looks like the results are starting to come in. Okay, so 8.3% of you, yes, we already have a MySQL HADR solution, but we are not happy with it. 33.3%, not right now, but it's in our future plans. 8.3%, yes, we're actively investigating or working on a project. And then 50%, no, I'm here to inform myself. Back to you, Eero.
Thank you. Next few slides will cover some of the key benefits Tungsten Solutions offers. I will not pour you in details right now here, just kind of walk through this high level, and if you find this interesting, I'm sure we have plenty of opportunity and time to cover this in depth. Continuous solutions are all about the continuous operations, as you have seen in a prior use case and slides. It is about availability and disaster recovery, but it's also about being able to maintain solutions while still providing a highly available solution at high performance level. And this is why we have seen many software as a service vendors approaching us, providing the backend service. This solution operates on geographical scale. We have an intelligent connectivity layer that can find the data regardless of whether it's a local or global. It allows you to load balance. It allows you route the reads using some query inspection elements that be even more intelligent. And this runs at any environment of your choice. Many of our existing customers are already in the cloud. In some level, you could call this a database as a service. It requires still some manual deployment, but after that, the feature functionality set is really close to what the database as a service solutions offer. But not only that, we allow customers to operate in hybrid cloud environment. They can have some on-premises parts. They can be on the cloud, or it could be a multi-cloud deployment. And it's also cross-cloud, so that you can have in multiple regions of Amazon, AWS, for example, but at the same time, you can deploy, as some of our customers do, part of the application in AWS and part of it in Google, or in some cases, Azure. Besides the highly available solution, we have some advanced capability. Back in 2009, we built the advanced MySQL replication solution, mainly because at the time, MySQL native replication didn't offer global transaction IDs required for the really functional clustering solution to work. So we built our own. By doing that, we made it non-database specific, meaning that you can extract data from different sources. It doesn't matter whether it's a MySQL, MariaDB, Percona server, AWS RDS, AWS Aurora, Google Cloud SQL, Azure SQL, all of those we can extract data. And we can feed that into various databases, and it doesn't necessarily have to be operational database like MySQL, Oracle, or Postgres. We can feed in data lakes, we can feed in analytics, we can feed in reporting, and all this is in real time. It's not an ETL solution, it's far more advanced and better. And while doing that, the data can be actually modified in flight. But our solution is also good because it doesn't tie you in any specific MySQL compatible solution running in the cloud, such as RDS or Aurora. We offer with any and all MySQL variants, and we support all of the versions from 5x to 8x on the MySQL side. And the native connectivity layer speaks MySQL. Thus, you do not require to make any changes in application. We present the cluster, whether it's local or global, as if it would be a single MySQL database. Yes, we are a commercial solution, and yes, there is a annual software subscription fee. But when we discuss about this do-it-yourself type of approach and kind of a hidden cost built in, our solution in many cases is less, actually a fraction of the cost that if you were to try to build, maintain, support your own solution. We are pretty cost effective. We realize also that the open source market dynamics, the bigger the deployment backend you have, the lower the per database server cost will come, and it comes down pretty fast. One of the last things we value highly, and our customers value even more highly, is the fact that we can provide an excellent support at minutes of notice. As discussed earlier, if you have an urgent request, we realize your business critical needs, and we will be there available. And we have demonstrated this over and over again. And the one you speak with us is a highly skilled MySQL database engineer or site reliability engineer who can provide you answers then and there. There is no front-ending level 1 support. We go straight to highest level. And also, as discussed, we are not here to manage and provide you database administration services. That's not our business. That is something you need to take care of by yourself, with your own staff, or with using companies such as Datavail. Back to you, Krishna.
Thank you, Earl. All right. So with the recent growth in cloud services and almost all the cloud providers are offering platform as a service, and there is often misconception that, okay, these PaaS models doesn't need DBA to manage it, but in fact, the responsibility of the DBA is more with the recent growth. And let's talk about some of those cases here. So we could actually categorize them into multiple sections. We talk about the pre-planning, design level, and architectural phase. Where you need to have the discussions early with the DBAs or the solutions architect to make sure what are we targeting, what are we trying to establish, and we have all the best practices in place or not, and what type of instance is optimal, and how much it's going to cost us, and are we provisioning with the proper instance size and the class to meet our requirements, and are we meeting our high availability and scalability requirements here. I think that's where Continuent Solutions stands out because they offer HA solutions and scalable solutions. If you're looking for within the cloud or across the cloud, if you're looking for global geographical, active-active, multi-master setup, so those kind of things would be really helpful to have those discussions early part instead of rather doing it once you have everything established. DR test cases, again, it would be good to have the DR test cases. I know that most of the cloud providers facilitate those DR solutions, but it would be good to have them actually tested to make sure you have the best process and practices in place for them. Platform operations, again, this falls into pretty much day-to-day operational categories, whether we want to make sure if your database performance is good or if you're having any latency issues, if you're talking about replication within the region or across the region or global geographical replication, maintenance scheduling, cross-region replication. If you're talking about blocking issues within the database, and if your queries are performing slow, you need to make sure those things are taken care of. Snapshot management, make sure you have the backups and restore recovery policies in place and have them tested to make sure if those restore and recovery policies are meeting your timeline requirements for your application. Again, if you're planning to migrate in and out of the cloud, or if you're planning for a hybrid cloud or multi-cloud situations, those things need to be discussed and have them addressed. With the recent growth in PaaS models and solutions, again, we just have to make sure not just the database functionalities, but with the recent enhancements being pushed, I think Amazon keep on pushing every couple of months with the latest features and enhancements. So we have to make sure both infrastructure, operational, and database level functionality and features are being implemented effectively to leverage those services. Okay, let's talk about application and performance. I think we pretty much covered schema design level application thing, and about database management. Again, we talk about database consolidation as your database grows, and as Aero mentioned, if you have a multi-site geographical data and you want to consolidate them into a single repository to have those ad hoc reports, business reports to be run, you need to have specific use cases for that. And again, those do not come out of the box, and you need to have a proper planning and a process in place to make sure you manage those things correctly, effectively as per your needs. Optimal configuration, application error management, again, those kind of application-related stuff, but we'd be happy to work with the DBAs and solution architects and with your DevOps teams to make sure those things are met and you're meeting those processes correctly. Security is a major concern. Obviously, we know what's been going on out there with the clouds as well, and we want to make sure each company have their own security policies and guidelines defined. And if you already have them in place, that's good. If not, we strongly suggest to have them refined, reviewed, and get it authorized and have them implemented across the board. Have those security best practices. It could be multiple levels. If you're talking about infrastructure or database user level or access management, that can be done. And if you're trying to have a single sign-on, have them integrated into your system, that also needs to be done. And if you're talking about encryption, again, encryption goes along with multiple levels. If you're thinking about encrypting the data at rest or data in transition or portion of the data, or if you do like kind of security data and you want to mask them and sensitive data not to be published for some specific users, you need to make sure you have those masking and data obfuscation policies in place, and those are being taken care of properly. Let's talk about some of the MySQL services offered at Datavail. We kind of covered about quick health checks, but typically what a health checks would involve is we look into the database systems, we talk to the customers to understand what their pain points are. We want to make sure we are in alignment with what their issues are, and we don't provide a generic solution for everybody. Like we work with the customers to customize them and focus on the areas, whether it could be related to performance, security, availability, or optimization, or if you're looking for architectural or design level improvements as well. Upgrades and migration, again, we kind of talked about MySQL flavors, which ones should be used, and if you're looking to upgrade from legacy systems that might be running for a couple of years already, and that's dependent with your application and you're unable to upgrade or migrate, but you still want to make use of the HS solutions. Again, Continuent is the one and provides out-of-the-box HS solutions for you without needing for your application code changes or any functional changes. If you plan to have upgrades, again, we are here to help. If you're looking for upgrades within the major versions of MySQL, whether it could be upgrades from 5.5 to 6 or 7, or if you're looking for upgrades within the MySQL forks, if you want to move from Oracle MySQL to Percona or MariaDB, we cover that. And if you're looking for migrations from other database technologies, it could be Oracle MySQL or SQL Server from non-SQL databases to SQL databases, all the way other way around. We are here to help with all your database needs. MySQL Document Store, which is being newly functional enhancement within 8.0. So MySQL offers NoSQL capabilities within their MySQL latest versions. And so where you can have both SQL and NoSQL capabilities within the same InnoDB layer integrated into the enterprise solutions as well. And if you need help with any caching layers with MySQL, we have experience, and we have customers that we have helped them to implement those things. And if you're also looking to scale your application, whether it could be for read scale or write scale, if you're using a load balancer to distribute the traffic for reads versus writes across multiple nodes or servers, you can certainly leverage Datavail services there. Change control process, again, this is something that we work with the customers to understand their change control process, and we get integrated into their change control process to make sure those deployments are done successfully and automatically as and when it requires. We kind of covered the database encryption. Again, SSL implementation, if you're looking for secure communication, if you want to have like a data encryption, all those things, we are here to help. And audit reviews, again, this is something that we work with our customers pretty closely. Most of the customers have specific regulations and compliance requirements they need to comply with, again, based on their application logic and business requirements. But we work with the customers to make sure those audit requirements are met, and we take care of handling those, implementing those security policies and making sure they pass those audits in true colors. Okay, this section kind of highlights a little bit more about our offerings and solutions. Again, if you're looking for database architectural support, or if you're looking for overall database optimization, performance tuning, again, what type of high availability solutions is required for your database needs, and if you're looking to scale your database applications, whether again, depending on scaling for reads versus writes, we are here to help. And oftentimes we get engaged. In fact, we have a customer that we work with annually, and we do take part within their DR policies, and we integrate them, the database portion of it, and we have been successfully taking place and successfully having the DR test done with them on an annual basis. So that's something that you might want to consider. Again, if you're looking to automate your database operations, we are here to help. No matter if it's if you're looking for project-based support or managed services support, we work with the customers to make sure we provide a true solution that matches their needs and requirements. Again, we take care of the monitoring aspects as well. If you have in-house monitoring, we'd be happy to work with that, or if you need customized monitoring solutions to match your requirements, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud, we'd be happy to help and serve you there. Okay, back to you, Stephen.
Thank you very much, Krishna. At this point, we're going to dive into questions from our viewers today. First question, are the solutions you discussed limited to the industry sectors that were highlighted during the presentation?
Maybe I'll take this one, Eero. Our solutions are not necessarily specifically industry specific, but when we are focusing on a high end of the market, which requires the continuous operation, that what we offer may not be feasible for all of the customers. But when you looked at the kind of just any segment of kind of a cross segment of our customers, there is no difference on the industry or the marketplace. The real question is that who would be ready for the open source database utilization. A lot of applications are historically viewed as a kind of a bread and butter for the commercial database solution, whether that's Oracle or SQL Server or DB2. But in our view is the fact that the MySQL and MySQL variants have matured over the past 20 years on the level that even the highest volume business critical, in some cases mission critical applications could effectively run on top of the open source databases, and we feel comfortable providing an excellent additional coverage at providing local availability. and geographically distributed backend. In that sense, there's even wider reach today than there may have been 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Krishna, do you have anything to add?
Sure, absolutely. Right. So as Eero mentioned, with respect to the solutions you're looking for, Continuent can help you meet your high availability needs. And again, depending on the use case and scenarios, we might have to work with you on customizing the solution specifically that's needed for you.
Understood. Thank you, Eero and Krishna. Moving on to our next question, does it matter whether we're MySQL, MariaDB, or Percona server users for your solutions to work?
Krishna, you want to take this?
So sure. So again, Continuent solution is it's not dependent on to any MySQL specific flavor. It can work with any versions of MySQL, any forks of MySQL. So you don't need to worry about doing any application changes or code changes. It can work with any of the flavors and forks. So again, depending on what type of solution are we looking for, whether it's going to be an active setup or active slave, active passive setup, geographical replication, those needs to be addressed first, and before we can say, hey, okay, this solution works best for your scenario.
Maybe one additional comment is that MySQL marketplace and the technologies are a little bit of changing over the past 5 years, MariaDB being the latest entry, and they have taken purposefully a little different route than MySQL itself. It is currently owned and operated and developed by Oracle database kind of teams. And Percona server follows quite closely what Oracle does. So in that sense, those two MySQL versions are tight on the hip. MariaDB demonstrates itself as a kind of a sole independent open source provider, which in one level is good, and in one other level is maybe bad, because when they are taking kind of a different fork, some of the new feature functionality developed by Oracle will not be automatically available in MariaDB and vice versa. So that creates a little bit of a challenge to review which one you would like to. And as Krishna mentioned earlier, you may want to take a look at some specific functionality each of these provide. But in some other level, it doesn't matter which one you use. One thing you should pay attention though, there are some MySQL compatible database as a service solution offered by AWS, Google, and Azure. They are not native MySQL, even if they are MySQL compatible and can provide solution and running MySQL workloads. But you have to be a little concerned and worried that these are effectively black box solutions, and they will be missing out as the open source world moves on. And some of these features may or may not be actively implemented on these black box solutions, sometimes purposefully. Back to you, Stephen.
Thank you, Eero. Our next question, I hadn't heard of this intelligent proxy for MySQL before. Can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, that's part of our solutions. The proxy is always needed when the application talks with the database. You don't necessarily need a proxy because you can talk directly. That's a historical approach. When you have a master-slave operation, which MySQL offers, or the cluster operation that the Continuent offers, you need to have a layer that manages the traffic. It finds the proper master to be able to kind of guide the updates in the right place, and it finds the slaves for the load balancing. But we have taken this a step higher, because the proxy is intelligence, and it has an effectively map of underlying cluster or clusters. So when and if there is a event, let's say a local failure, it holds the traffic. From the user point of view, it appears as if the application just hangs a few seconds, and then resumes operation. So there's no discontinued operation whatsoever. And then it's this proxy talks with the cluster manager and knows which one is the new master and can automatically route once again traffic to the right database. And this not only works on local level, but it has the same capability on global level. So if there is, for example, data center outage or the cloud region outage, the connectivity layer sees that, sees the traffic, reconfigures the underlying cluster, and then routes once again the application traffic to the proper databases without any human intervention, and it's fully automated, and it's a fast operation. And this is one of the secret sauces that our technology, why it is so compelling and functional for these online applications, like software as a service providers.
Understood. Moving on to our next question, why do we need both Continuent and Datavail to help us? Wouldn't one of you be enough?
I'll give a quick answer, because we do not do database administration services. So we provide the magic with the software. We make it easy or easier to manage these databases, but then and then a lot of the mundane tasks won't be needed or won't take as much time. But there's a whole lot of other functionality that's really is required, and this goes back to Datavail, and they can provide you those services that we are actively, effectively avoiding. Back to you, Krishna, if you want to add some color.
Thank you. Yeah. Just to add to what Eero mentioned, again, Continuent are the experts in providing high availability solutions, and Datavail are the experts in managing the databases, providing architectural solutions and all that. So we do take part in addressing all your database needs. If you are looking for project work or operational support, continuous availability, yes, we are here to help, and we have resources available in each practice, specific technology, subject matter experts, so we can serve you with all your database needs.
Thanks, Krishna and Eero. Our next question, we are currently using AWS RDS Aurora. Why should we consider using Tungsten clustering instead?
Yeah, this is product feature functionality question I can take on, and then Krishna can maybe add additional comments. You may be perfectly fine. AWS RDS, AWS Aurora, just fine solution, especially when you are looking for something like kind of a DevOps type of environment, and you are not too worried about the data, but also it works quite well for the local availability needs. You may want to look into cost structure, how expensive Aurora actually is, and then you may decide that actually running native MySQL combined with our software may end up being less expensive, yet and while we provide higher functionality. And then when you move your application outside from one region to another, and if you need really a DR solution that is available within a second's notice on the other data center or region, that is one area we start shining. And then the more you have these different regions that you need to cover, the better we come. And if you do not want to get tied in on AWS infrastructure, for example, you want to have a freedom at some point to move into Google Cloud or Azure, you may also look into a solution that is actually based on native MySQL instead of one of these MySQL compatible black box type of a solution. So it depends on the kind of path and consideration, but by no means Aurora is a great solution, whatever it does for the local availability needs.
Understood. And Krishna, would you like to add anything to that?
Sure. I think what Eero mentioned makes sense, but we definitely want to look at what specifics are we talking about, because we're talking about two different solutions, and we need more details before we can comment anything on that.
Understood. Well, we're at the top of the hour. I'd like to just give each of you the chance to, give final remarks in terms of what you'd like our viewers today to walk away keeping in mind, those that are using MySQL and MySQL variants and those that are perhaps considering MySQL as a replacement alternative. And why don't we start with you, Krishna?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to join us today. And again, if you need any help with your database needs, or if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to assist.
And I would also like to thank everybody joining in. Myself being involved in MySQL Marketplace almost 20 years, I have had an opportunity and pleasure to see how this marketplace has grown and matured, and we are really confident about that the underlying database functionality is ready for even the highest level of the business critical and mission critical data loads. And if you are serious about those type of applications, we believe that we have an excellent solution to help you with those needs. So we are looking forward to having additional discussions with you guys as need might arise. Thank you, everybody.
Once again, I'd like to thank our speakers today, Srinivasa Krishna, MySQL Practice Leader at Datavail, and Eero Terrakorpi, Founder and CEO of Continuent. If you would like to review this presentation or send it to a colleague, please use the same URL that you used for today's live event. It will be archived, and you'll receive an email tomorrow once the archive is posted. And just for participating in today's event, you could win this $100 American Express gift card. The winner will be announced on September 30th. We will reach out to you via email if you are the lucky viewer. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes your webcast. You may now disconnect. Speakers, please stand by.